Hey punks, welcome back to the University of Radlands. We have a Radlands 201 Advanced Theory Camp Selection video here for you today. I've called this 201 because it's kind of the second video or second class, if you will, that we've done on camps. So it's weighted a little bit higher. It'll be an advanced theory. And like I mentioned, we're going to be discussing the things that I look for and have weighted a little bit differently in terms of selecting your 3 camps when drawing 6. So let's get started. I do touch on this a little bit in my beginner's guide, but I did want to take a little bit of a deeper dive on this. And again, this is just what I look for. There's no maybe consensus or right way to do this. I'm going to give 4 points. The first 2 or the first couple I might have weighted a little bit higher in what I might look for. And then the others just might help me round out maybe the last camp or the last couple camps. So the first thing that I look for when I have 6 camps available to me is starting hand size. Now, cards are one of the economies of the game, along with your 3 water a turn, and these resources are very finite. You do get a card a turn, but that's kind of about it. So if you can start with maybe a card or 2 more than your opponent, you might be at an advantage. So when I'm looking through my 6, I kind of see maybe what's going to give me a few more cards to start the game potentially. Instead of having 0 to 2, I find the sweet spot might be around 3, hopefully maybe 4 cards to start your hand. If you can get more than that, then that's also pretty awesome. So that's kind of one of the first things I look for. The next thing that I look for at a very similar weight is having diverse abilities for my camps. I almost always like to look for a restore in my camps. There's not a lot of them in the punk deck, in the people and event deck. So if you have a way to have a consistent restore, that's very valuable. It's always really nice to have some sort of camp that can deal damage, whether that's sending raiders, injuring people, general damage to camps or people. It's always nice to have damage in your camps to kind of keep the pressure on the opponent a little bit. And then the third camp, just kind of whatever you want to round it out with or fill it out with. So, whether it's kind of a unique ability like Oasis or Supply Depot, or maybe you do want a little bit more damage to really keep the pressure on, you could go that route. And again, these first 2 things, I'll kind of look for that, trying to find cards and diversify what my camps are able to do in case I don't have a lot of people I have access to at the beginning, or my opponent has really taken control of my board. I still have options in my camp, no matter where I'm at in the game, to be able to do something. I don't want to be a one-trick pony in my camps. I want to have diverse abilities. The next thing, again, a little bit lower, but might help me pick my 3rd camp if I'm between, a 3rd and a 4th one, is diverse ability costs. You don't want all of your camps to cost the same amount of water. If all your abilities cost 2 and you only have 3 water a turn, well, then you can only use 1 action between your camps, and now you're relying on either picking up the water silo or having cheap actions on your people. If you can have a diverse water cost for the abilities on your cards, that's going to give you more actions that you're able to take during your turn. So for example here, the Supply Depot is 2. If we wanted Nest of Spies, that's 1. And Labor Camp is 0. Well, we now have a lot of options just between our camps that we can use during our turn. We're not tied down to just, like I said, if everything costs 2 or 1, only having 1 or 2 actions we can take. There's a few things that we're able to do. And then the last thing that people kind of always talk about or look for is maybe different synergies within your camps. Now, if it's a really good synergy, this might be the first thing. If you flip over a few camps and you have maybe like a catapult with an arcade where you can pump people onto the board to launch them into the catapult, or again, even with labor camp, pump people into labor camp. That's a pretty good synergy and might be one that overrides, catapult does give you 0 cards, but the two combo together, that's a pretty awesome, some pretty awesome camp synergy. Pillbox is a really good camp. If you maybe find a reactor with it, you can destroy the reactor yourself to clear the board. That also helps make your pillbox cheaper. If you have yourself an obelisk at the start, well, that destroys itself at the beginning of the game. So right from the very start, you're going to have a cheaper pillbox. That might be a synergy that interests you. Garage and Omen Clock. Again, really cheap to get the raiders going or advance them, and then really cheap to keep them going. Now, you would want to find something really good to pair this with, because I mentioned that one-trick pony. Well, that's a pretty big raiders-only tactic there, but very, very powerful and keeps the damage pressure on your opponent. And then maybe another synergy that might pop up. I really like Adrenaline Lab and Parachute Base. Bring in your people, damaged, use their ability again with Adrenaline Lab, and you've kind of used their ability multiple times in one turn or the next turn for pretty cheap. And then, the punks. So maybe you could pair Arcade with, Command Post and make your Command Post a little bit cheaper. So you can find synergies within the camps, Bonfire with Construction Yard. Use your Bonfire twice, bring it back with Construction Yard. But I will really only look for those if they really pop out to me. For the most part, the synergies within the camps is maybe the last thing I'm looking for. I really want cards to start the game. I really want a diverse amount of abilities I have access to during the game. And I don't want all of my abilities or actions on my cards, on my camps, to cost the same. So that's what I'm looking for. And I hope this video maybe helps you think about how maybe you select camps in the game. And if you're maybe a newer player, maybe it gets you thinking about different ways to select your camps to start the game. And that's how I do it. Comment below. What do you all look for when you're selecting your camps? Is it pretty similar to mine? Am I way off base from you? Do you have something yourself that works? Let me know. I want to hear about it. I want to discuss it with you. And as always, stay thirsty, punks.